Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And today it is now time to take on Inferno 3 of the new Beatdown battle. This is recorded way before we get any news about the next two incoming characters, so we'll do this, and then we'll revisit it once we have either the full meta or at least one of the other units. Kind of depends. Sorry, I have the hiccups right now. But this stage is going to be pretty difficult for a lot of people. It has the most HP of any boss that we've ever had, ever. So I do not expect people without the meta and lots of good substitutions to be able to even attempt to beat this stage. So if you're watching this and you're a new player, have fun, enjoy what, high-level teams can do, but just realize that you, unfortunately, will not be able to hit this. So looking at it, we do have a few missions as well. So beat it with 5 people living 3 times. This gets you the union donation materials that really helps boost your level up. That's awesome. And then we have a mission for all magic characters and at least 2 wind characters. So you don't have to take both of those on at the same time. You certainly can. But this is the team that I have been running for what I would consider my maximum damage. Veldora, Visions of Coleus Violet, Idolmaster Shizu, who I know not a lot of people are going to have, and then the new guy and the new Milim. If you don't have Shizu and you have Overlord Shizu, you could certainly, put her over here, and then she would satisfy both the all magic and the 2 wind character condition. So that is certainly an option. Other wind characters you can bring that would actually help here would be New Year's Blessing Milim, wherever she is, right here. She's a wind character. She wouldn't get the magic stuff, but just bring another magic unit instead for that second mission. You don't want to bring Tempest Elite Shuna. Her Pierce power is wasted because he has so much Pierce resistance that it's going to hurt you. Hinata, EX Hinata, is physical wind. You could bring her just to get the mission done, I guess, if you wanted to, if you're that desperate. But otherwise, wind options are actually kind of limited, all things considered. We don't get too many of them. I mean, I guess you could bring Vengeance Shizu, or not Shizu, but Shuna, but she's really not going to do anything in this stage because both of her skills get sealed because they are body and spirit. So you'd be bringing her just for the mission and not actually to use her at all. But let's go in with my built team and let's, show off how this runs and how I can get my max damage. Alright, so if you look at this team, with big time skill right here, 2 stacking skills, this skill, the alt rush. You would think that this team was going to be heavily short on points, but surprisingly, it's not. And for that, I'm very grateful. Because obviously, since we have 2 more characters coming, Violet and Shizuka are going to quote-unquote be replaced. Whether that, that remains to be seen how good the next 2 characters are going to be. But right now, this is what I would consider probably the highest damaging team in the game because of the raw power and raw stats that we can get out of these support buffs. Because Shizuka, is using the live mode, which gives 2% attack per green orb sent on the turn. She's stacking alt resistance down by 10%, and then her weakness strike is 20%, and it's a heal that does not get sealed. Okay, that's not the greatest hand in the world. I really want some Guy orbs here. I really want his EX alt, but I guess we'll just have to make do with it. So here we're going to use both of the skills. We're going to give them the weakness strike buff, the alt resistance down, the live mode, because we're going to have a full hand of greens once we use Velzard. Let's bring Veldora in. We'll use his green buff right here. So 70% and plus the extra magic resistance down, 15% now that it's fully leveled. And then we'll bring Violet in. And that leaves us exactly enough points to use the alt rush ability, and that gives everybody an alt. With Velzard here, full hand of greens, we get the Drago, we get the element buff. More importantly, with all these greens, live mode, 12% attack, EX alt for Milim, almost an EX alt for Violet, and close to an EX alt for Guy. So this is pretty efficient right here. So 19k, 32k from Milim. Very good damage. Now, Soe. That's an interesting hand. Okay. Sure. Soe has 3.1 million HP, 100% physical resistance. This crit and pierce starts stacking, and then he has himself water and physical attack buff. And then he also gives himself more attack and more defense. 100%, 100% on the end of turn 5. So he's going to hurt a lot on his ults. So you really don't want to go past turn 5 with any team in Inferno 3. But here, let's use the magic buff, let's use the synergy power buff, and I think, yeah, that will do it for us. So now, we'll swap these two characters out, because they have the big time buff, and that's what we really care about. So Veldora will come in, and then Shizuka will come in for Guy. And I think we just go ahead and send this entire hand. We're still having the 70% green buff, so we're going to get max points and max gauge here, even though we're going to send an alt early. It doesn't really matter. We'll have another alt for her next turn, too, which is pretty cool. We'll have an extra 30 points from Velzard, which gives us a lot of points to use, because we used our primary buffs this turn. It means we have a lot of points to play with next time. So we can get Violet out of here. So, I mean, we have her EX ult. Like, that's really good. I don't really want to use it, though, because I want to make sure that at least Milim gets buffed up by Shizuka. I would like Guy to get buffed up, but I can't, single target magic attack is going to be pretty good. She just doesn't have any of the other buffs. So you come in for Veldora, and you come in for Violet. And we'll just run it like this. And if we lose damage, then we lose damage. But now, we have this skill. Her own weaken strike and alt damage. And then, we have 115 points left over. So it's like, we can use another stack of this. We can give ourselves the free alt. So even if we don't kill here, which we're going to kill here, we would still have a guaranteed EX alt for Milim next turn on turn 5, because this one's free. And she'll still have all the stacks from Shizuka. We'll be missing the synergy and the magic power and her own personal buff, but it's not really going to matter, because he's not going to live. Let's see how much normal orb damage we do here, and then we'll send everything else. Let's turn the animations on, because I do want to see this. We're going to send Guy first, because he lowers defense by 15%, which means that Milim will hit just a little bit harder after he ults, so this should be entertaining. So there's the attack buff. So the extra live mode gave us another 1, 2, 3, 4, so 8% attack before we ult, so that's just more addition. And that also gets affected by Drago, so it's higher than what we already had, so we probably should have checked that, but oh well. Guy, with non-EX ult, does 77k because he pierced, so great. 232k from that normal Milim orb. That's pretty hefty right there. And then her ult is going to do nice damage, unless we also hit some natural bullshit, which it's a 2% shot. With her Mega Man Buster Cannon. And we do 4.1 million damage. He only has 3.1, so we did an extra million on top of that in 4 turns. And even if that didn't kill, we would have had another EX ult next turn, and we would have had probably full points again, so we could have used maybe the magic buff and her own personal buff again. Not the synergy power, because that would have been too expensive, but hey. I like 4.1 million damage in 4 turns. You should like that too, if you can do this. So there's my super sweaty team as it stands right now before the next 2 units. Let's see if there's another team that can do this. Alright, the next team, or teams, plural, that I've found that can do this, actually reasonably well, is an Overlord-style stacking and resetting / stun team. So if we take a look at the actual event itself and what Soe does, so give me a minute to go back here. So Soe, he has a lot of HP. He has a lot of attack and defense. He nerfs blues. He also seals body and spirit skills on turn 3, which means that if you can get reasonably lucky, you could actually stun lock him starting from turn 2, as long as you have the points. And then, his chance to nullify all status down, he can't do that if he's stunned. He can't give himself attack and defense if he is stunned. So if we are using, say, this team right here. Oh, sorry, hold on. This team right here. And we have our turn 1 orb changer with Aaron. And we have our protection gauge / despair with Ainz. And we have Guy, who is going to stun for 25 points. And we can just constantly stack and reset and stun. We can make Shizu, or in some aspects, even Vengeance Shuna. You know, she is still a wind magic character, and we can then take advantage of Vengeance if we stun Soe. So these two teams are going to run the exact same way. You want orb changers, you want some kind of green buffing unit like Isis or Ainz, you need Guy to stun, and you want some character that will do damage. I mean, we chose 2 different wind magic characters because they're wind and magic. If you don't have, you know, Shizu and you have Shuna, you can use her. Like, they'll both work. You know, let's start out with the Vengeance team because that's what people are going to, you know, be talking about is Vengeance. So we'll run through the first couple of turns with this team just to show you what needs to happen. And then it's, you know, it's 18, 13 turns of just the same thing over and over again until you eventually kill. So turn 1, it's set for an orange convert, so that's why we brought free-to-play Aaron. We also are using the skill point unit, so we have 42 to start out with, which means that we can use the Isis green buff plus the Aaron orb change on turn 1. That will make sure that we get a lot of gauge, and we get max points, 100 points. So now, you know, we'll bring Guy in, we'll bring Trya in. They both have turn 2 protection gauge units underneath them, and as long as they only get hit pretty much this one turn, you're pretty safe. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Vengeance Shuna, you know, has her own personal buffs where she stat swaps her high defense to her attack and she gives herself wind. Her Vengeance skill rushes her alt. And now, like, look at this. Turn 2, we need 1 orb change, and we have 100 points. And he has not sealed us yet, which means that we can orb change with Trya, stun with Guy, apply some Vengeance, and then reset all of those skills with Rimuru. And now, essentially, he's stun locked for the rest of the entire fight, unless you forget to stun, which I kind of did a few times when trying to record this. So there we go. We've given Shuna an alt. We've got a full hand of greens. We've reset all those skills. We're constantly stacking up the element buff on Shuna. And as long as we can have this same thing go on, you're guaranteed a win. It's not going to be within 5 turns, or 8 turns even. But you can win because if you can't do anything, you can't die. And you can't use the idols for this stage, right? He removes all of those status effects like the invincibility before he attacks. So the idols will die, straight up. You can't use them. But here, all right, turn 3, he's not stunned anymore. We have 150 points. We have this hand, which we can definitely change out of. And we're going to just continue to stun him over and over and over, and on this team specifically, we will continue to add more stacks of Vengeance. And while he's not giving himself that massive 100% attack buff right now, his attack stat's still fairly high, and so if you put enough Vengeance on him, it will do very good damage. So we're going to stun, we've orb changed, we've brought Trya back in, we've reset all those skills, now we're stacking even more on Shuna, and then we'll get Trya out of here just to keep her in the back to, you know, maintain her viability as an orb changer, and then we'll go ahead and send it. And it's going to be this, just over and over and over again, and you'll continue stacking element buff, you'll continue stacking Vengeance, you'll continue to stun, and this is why Guy is such a good unit for new players, because if they can't beat this, but they can at least make some sort of team that has this option, you can beat Inferno 3. It's going to take you like 2 hours to do it, but it's better than spending 2 hours and just dying over and over again, when you can pretty much guarantee yourself a win, as long as you have some orb changers and some kind of semi-damaging unit. If you don't have Shuna for the Vengeance run like this, you could bring free-to-play Yom. You could bring Raphael. You could bring the Light Veldora. It honestly does not matter if you're doing this. As long as you're stunned, the Vengeance will kill him eventually. So, I mean, if we scoot ahead a little bit in this fight, we're on turn 11, and he's down to this much. We've got 30 stacks of Vengeance that's doing 198k a pop, and he hasn't attacked us once since turn 1. So it's super viable. Let's continue on a little further to turn 13. We've got an EX Salt for Shuna. Unfortunately, things don't go our way on this turn because I think we pierce or something and it cuts her damage a lot. But let's go ahead and send it. And Yeah, we pierced. 128k. We would have killed with that ult had we not pierced. And Guy doesn't do shit, but whatever. More importantly, we have 36 stacks of Vengeance on, and even though we didn't kill with the ult, Vengeance will clean it up. 237k. So, I mean, that's one option. The other way is if we do the Overlord team like this. Sorry. Like this, where we have Aaron again to orb change, we have Rimuru to reset. If you don't have Rimuru, you could attempt to do it with Dark Veldora, right? He is still resetting. He's adding, you know, up to a 70% magic attack every time you use him. So it's not true stacking, but it is a damage buff. But he does reset skills. It's just that with Veldora, you really need to bring Isis for that extra green gauge. Otherwise, you just don't get enough points to really run this efficiently. But it's definitely an option. You could even attempt to do Vengeance Velzard, right? She resets everybody. It's just that you don't have, you know, the excess point cap in case skills get a little expensive because you aren't cycling her very fast. But, I mean, you could certainly try using her. But we're still bringing Guy. We're going to make Shizu our damage dealer now. Let me cut to the point where we're actually going to get a run here. Okay, so here we're on turn 2 now. We got a very, very good hand with just one orb change. So maybe you need to reset a little bit for RNG, but now we can use the orb change, we can use the despair skill, and then we still have enough points to now bring in Guy and stun while getting max protection gauge. Full hand of greens, stunning him. We've added the despair, which will, you know, technically help our damage out because it's stacking alt resistance down. Whatever, sure. And that, you know, 1,000 passive damage is going to do. Whoop-de-doo. More importantly, though, it's a stun that's coming in here. And so this team will run the exact same way. It won't go nearly as quick. It goes more turns because the Vengeance really does kick in a lot of damage from the Shuna team. But Shizu, with, you know, the triple alt swapping ability, means that you can build up to EX alts pretty easily and then send them and use her 80-point weakness strike and alt resistance down skill pretty much willy-nilly. So now that he's stunned, we have 150 points. We can put more despair on. We could reset everything. We can stun him again. We could orb change. And it's going to run the exact same way. So let's just go ahead and skip ahead. Now we're, let's see, up to turn 16. He's pretty low. We don't have an ult for Shizu, but he's been stunned. We have 14 stacks of Vengeance. The max is 20, so we've been at this for quite a while. But we're doing a lot of damage with our normal orbs now because of, you know, stacking for 16 turns on Shizu. Her normal orbs are going to do pretty good damage because she's super weak point. And we've gotten probably like 18 stacks of Rimuru with her. And we're just going to do this over and over and over again until we eventually do kill. And here's another stack. And we'll skip ahead to turn 18. And I think we kill here between all this. So let's just let's take a looky look. He is still stunned 18 turns later. We'll apply the weakness strike so our orbs just do more damage for Shizu, and we've got 2 of them. So let's see if this is the final blow right here. I think it should be 42k on that, and this orb does 86. All right, not quite, but obviously he's going to die. Even if we don't stun him this turn, he's going to die. So these are certainly 2 viable teams that are not meta-focused at all that you can at least attempt to run. And again, like the Protector list, you can attempt to use Dark Veldora, right? Rimuru is going to be the best option out of everybody. You can attempt to use Vengeance Velzard because she does have the reset and everything, but there's really no other Protector aside from the actual meta itself that's going to get you the results that you want for this stun team. Idle team is not going to work here. You'll try it, you'll find out very quickly that the idols are 100% hard nerfed here. So that's not really going to do it. If you happen, I mean, you can if you also bring a stun team, right? You can bring Guy. Technically, he does reset. But because he doesn't raise skill cap, it becomes very, very difficult. But at least he does orb change for you. So if you're a full pure idle team will not work. A stun idle team, maybe I'll try it out for funsy onesies in a different video. But that's what I found works. We don't have really any good single target magic win characters, so this is the end of the video. If you have any other teams that you found that you can beat Inferno 3 with that are not meta-focused or stun-focused, let me know. But that's it for me, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.